Yes, YouTube. Been a little minute, but I'm just gonna make a quick video about these two trades that came up the other day. One I took, one I didn't take. So one was a short, one was a long. No, one was a no. Both were longs. Both were longs. Sorry. So both of them. This is actually the 15-second time frame, which is mad. Like, I've been trading the 15-second. I actually kind of enjoy it, to be honest. But just wanted to talk about why one looks good and one doesn't. So this one to the left kind of accumulated here. I think it was there actually. That was the accumulation. Then this section here was the manipulation. Then this gap was the gap to take it higher, and then this was the target. A few reasons I don't like this. Firstly, there's no clear area of accumulation. When I look at this, actually, this is a bit trash. I don't even know how I considered this. But there's no real true area of accumulation, because there's a bit there, then we drop, and then there's a bit here. But also on the 15-second, we don't actually get trapped for that long. And then we've got this big kind of manipulative wick here, which takes out that side, and then we get this wick here. Now, we do sweep liquidity and leave a gap. This gap isn't that big, but it's not something I wouldn't take just because of the size of it. However, this is something I wouldn't take because of the lack of conviction in the sweep. This is not a strong sweep for me, because in terms of the bodies, they haven't really looked much different. Like, you can't see much volume. Where's the particular volume in this that breaks out? There isn't. Whereas when you look at this, you can clearly see that, like, the accumulation here is very low volume, very trapped. Yeah, we do come up and take this high, take the highs, and we do this red line. I'm guessing was a significant area as well. And I think the reason that I ended up taking this higher is because I felt like we hadn't done justice on that area. But also, a few things to note here is that, firstly, when we decided to manipulate, we had some good volume compared to this accumulation. The manipulation still, even though it still only swept that low, which is the same as this, like, it swept it, the difference is that, like, we've got all this volume coming down. Like, it's clearly different to where these bodies end here compared to this body ending. Whereas here, it's like the bodies have kind of ended in the same place, but we've still just about swept liquidity, which doesn't feel like a manipulation to me. It just feels like a sweep. Doesn't. I think there's a difference between a manipulation and a sweep, and I think that's possibly gonna help looking at these setups. But yeah, I kind of liked this, and I'm interested in the 15-second. Now, something else I wanted to talk about really quickly is patience, and I'm realizing since the end of last week and this week, I've been very aware, a lot more self-aware of how my actions are taking affecting me directly, and it's to do with the psychology. It's to do with what you decide to do, and when you decide to get in, when you decide to get out, how much you risk. All of those things are going to determine the outcome of your specific trade, because it's not the trade. Like, the trade's going to do its thing anyway, but it's how you trade that trade. It's like how you participate in that trade is what the psychology is going to decide on. And I've only just started noticing how much the the psychology really, really impacts um, the like the win rate and like the P&L and all that kind of stuff. So let's just see. I don't know why this isn't loading up, but I'll quickly I'm gonna try and make a point of this because there was one specific trade that I took last week that really woke me up to the fact that I need to get better at my psychology. And it's just being patient as well. I've noticed that like a big thing for me is like if I'm sitting on the charts very intensely and I'm waiting for stuff, and then let's say I see a couple trades or I see a trade and I miss it because it doesn't give me an entry, or I wasn't fast enough on the button, or instantly it runs away from me, then straight away my mindset is altered slightly. Makes me want to get a trade next time. And if that happens again, it makes me want to get a trade even more next time. And something that I've noticed within myself is that every now and again I need to step away from the charts, because if I've been sitting there waiting for a setup to happen and I keep waiting and nothing comes, and like I said, I miss one for whatever reason, after a while it does affect me, and it creeps up on me, and I don't realise that it creeps up on me until it's too late, and then I've got in on a subpar setup, literally like the one I've just showed, where now I'm looking at it, it's like, what a hideous setup, like in what universe would I ever take this? But I know for a fact that this would have been interesting to me because I was so engrossed in trying to find something that actually wasn't there. And I think that when the more you can step back and be indifferent and just wait and really know what your setup looks like and wait for it to form, it's gonna be helpful. So like, getting back to this anyway, I want to show an example of a trade that I took last week that really woke me up to it. So for example, let's say that this trade is going to come in. Let's just use this as an example because it's going to take me ages to find the actual trade. So let's say, for example, this is the accumulation. This trade looks good. Like, this is actually something I would genuinely take. So let's say that this is the accumulation. That's the I for G, and there's our area that we're gonna go short from. Right, and I'm going to tell you the full story of how the psychology, all my decisions completely affected this trade. So, number one was I was one trade away from passing. Prop firm. Right, so I needed one trade to pass a prop firm. But it was a large trade. Like, I could have done it in one trade, but it was big 3% trade. So straight away I had to make the decision whether I was gonna go all in on this trade and try and pass in one trade. So knowing that I shouldn't, I still decided to do it because my psychology was not patient and I was rushing and I wanted to pass the account. That's problem number one. Problem number two is, instead of waiting for a proper pullback, I got in at a really bad fill, which was like here. So number one, I've over leveraged, so this is now a much heavier 3% trade, which I didn't want, or I actually wasn't mentally ready for. Number two, I got in at a bad price. Now, once I got in at that bad price, and I was confident with the trade, that was the reason why I over leveraged, because I was actually really confident that it would win. But as soon as I got in, price went like this, and it just teased me like this for a while, all the way drawdown, 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 and it just kept coming higher and higher and higher. Now, straight away, I'm thinking, shit, if I lose this trade, I'm going to lose the account, versus I was one trade away from passing the account. So as the trade gets closer and closer, once I get to about 2%, just over 2% down, I cut the trade. And I'm like thinking, I've saved myself, I'm going to cut it early because I don't want to lose the 3, because I don't want to lose the account. Straight away, bad decision, because if I was really truly in on this trade, I should have run it to the end. Next thing you know, trade starts turning around. But problem is now I'm convinced that the stop loss is going to hit. So with that final 1% that I had left in the trade, I now flipped my bias and decided to try and take a long towards that stop loss, which I thought was now inevitably going to hit. And guess what happened? The trade did this. So just as you can see, just from my own psychology, made me take 2 losses instead of 1 win. For example, if I had good psychology and I decided to wait for a good price, get in at a good reasonable risk, then I would have made money that trade and I would have walked away happy. But because I'd over leveraged, got in at a bad price, then panicked because I'd over leveraged, so I got out, and then because I was impatient and revenge mindset, then I decided to try and follow what I thought was the new wave, and I was wrong. So you can see there how, even though the trade won, which is in my strategy, if I would have followed my strategy without the bad psychology, I would have made money on that trade. But because of my bad psychology, I lost money on that trade, and that is the only distinguishing difference between me winning and losing, was my own psychology. So just wanted to say that, and I'm proud of myself because I'm working on it and I'm very aware of it now. So for example, this week I've took 2 wins and 1 loss, and the loss came today, and it was a similar feeling. It was like, it wasn't that I got a bad feel or anything, but it was more of the feeling of like, I've been at this chart for a while, I've missed a couple trades that haven't gone my way. I think I missed about 3, maybe 2 trades that hadn't gone my way, or never gave me an entry, or I wasn't fast enough. And before I know it, I'm getting pushed and pulled. Like, I can feel it after a while. Like, I'm trying to catch ups and downs, and when I can first get on the chart, I can see it clearly. I can wait for the ups and downs. But the longer I'm on there, the more blurry the vision becomes, and that's definitely going to be something I need to work on in order to get better.